All right, y'all. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J is live. We about to have a great show. Looking forward to getting into it. We're doing a special segment. We're gonna lead off the show with dumbass parents. Dumbass parents, and later on we're gonna be talking about dumbass criminals. We got a lot to get into. We got a special guest in the studio right now, and we've got the co-host en route. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J is right now.
Open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
If they lying,
then you must be high. Steppin!
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Some folks just extra. 804-402-2893 to be down with the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. We appreciate everybody that's listening to us. 804-402-2893 to be down with the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. As I let it off at the top of the show, we got a lot to get into tonight. We got dumbass parents that we're going to talk about here in the first segment. A couple of stories that's going to have us talking about that, and then one story at the end of the segment that will definitely kind of bring a tear to your eye. That's not about a dumbass parent, that's about a dumbass system, but we'll get to that here momentarily. Then we got a segment later on talking about dumbass, I'll say criminals. We'll just leave it at that. So you heard him at the top of the show leading off with me. You can also hear him on these very airwaves every single Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. hosted and live in radio. Sitting in with me tonight, I got my brother and my homeboy, Mr. LP, Steven Sykes. What's up, bro?
Hey, in there, having fun, feeling a lot better. It was a rough weekend, but I'm getting going.
You feeling good, man?
I'm feeling good, man.
Are you ready to get into a good, fabulous show?
Yes, indeed. Starting the week off right with Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you here. I think that's your first time. I think we just bust your intro cherry just now. Is that what we just did?
Yeah, the first time I've done the intro.
Yeah, I like to, have a variety. I really want, my co-host, to be able to do it. But, obligations keeps her from being here at the very beginning. And that's cool. We'll have her at the beginning when we can. But she joins us when she can get here. And we appreciate her. We look forward to SY when she gets here. But when she ain't here, I usually try to make sure that we get somebody different to kind of help me help me out when we do it. So I appreciate you being here and kind of going back and forth with me on some of these stories that we got here. You ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready to go.
All right, the first story I want to get to, we're doing this segment, I'm calling this Stupid Parents. And this first story that I want to talk about, I got this one from, it's all over the news. It's not just in one place. I mean, I've seen this on the local WTVR, CBS stations. I've seen this on USA Today, which is where I'm actually getting my information from today. It's out of Cobb County, Georgia. It's a story about a 22-month-old child by the name of Cooper Harris, who died in the car while his dad, Justin Ross Harris, went to work. Justin Ross Harris has been charged with murder, child cruelty, after Cooper died after being left alone in the car for more than 7 hours while Harris was at work. He claims that he simply forgot his kid was in the back seat. According to a police warrant filed after the child died, it was 88 degrees at 5:16 p.m. Warrants were for electronic devices taken from the Harris home as well as devices that were in the car. Of course, the young boy's funeral was over the weekend. His father wasn't allowed to attend the funeral, which was held in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And he called the funeral and spoke on speakerphone to those folks that were attending. And there was a twist that came out over the weekend that says that the father as well as the mother had recently researched online how hot car deaths can occur. So I got it sufficiently set up, Mr. LP. Why don't you give me your thoughts on the story?
I've been checking in and out on this story quite often this weekend, and just trying to get both sides and really having a hard time trying to play devil's advocate, because the first thing, and I want to give credence to, is that there are a lot of, things happen. When you're an overworked mother or father, what have you, we've seen cases where the mother or father leave the child on top of the roof of the car, they forgot him in a shopping cart, picked them up and they went in the house but forgot to let them in the car inside a garage, all these different things. And I feel bad because when you see cases of like that is really purely accidental and they just overwork, it lowers the value of their case when you get situations like this. The guy went back to his car one time, I believe, a few hours, and you did not hear or what have you. And granted, it's a baby. The baby we don't know that the baby died earlier or later, what have you. But how do you not notice? The second thing that causes concern is, why did not the daycare on site call? 99% of the daycares that I know call when your child's not there, just because they escape prevents them from being liable, that they did do justice in seeing what's going on.
Well, from my understanding, there was an issue with the daycare, and I don't know the specifics, but I don't know if the daycare even was expecting to see the kid that day. And I'm surprised, I'm wondering why, if the daycare was even an option, why the kid wouldn't have already been at the daycare.
Well, because I think he's previously was using the daycare on site. But then now
at the job,
and big ups to jobs that have daycare, but for them. But at the same time, it just seems that it's just beyond. Now, could it have happened that people checked on different things? Yes, you could have a story heard today. I checked maybe a month ago. About children dying in cars. I researched, and this could have been happenstance, but it's very, very hard when something in my head would have triggered, hey, how my child's doing? And then that didn't trigger at all, that you didn't drop your kid off. So all this stuff is very suspect. There's a lot more from what I caught on the news today and checking in. There's apparently a lot more information that is going on that the police has not released. And obviously you don't want so much tried on the public. But just this case alone, because this is not the only one. This happened before this. I think there has been like 15 of them in the country. Well,
that's the thing that I wanted to kind of get into in this story, because it wasn't for me specifically about this story. I mean, it can be, but in the course of me researching this story, I came across, a number of stories where this happens. And, I talked about a couple of weeks ago when I was at, going to work, I went inside, the local convenience store to do my business, and I came out, and as I was getting in the car, I saw a brother jump out of his car and go inside the store, and he left 3 little girls alone in a running car. Now, it is a little bit different to do that But I mean, it's to me not that much different. And you know, I watched over I was pulling out, but I watched over the kids until he came back in. And when he came back in, he kind of gave me a dirty look, like he thought that I was the creepy guy. No, dude, I'm holding you down right now to make sure that the creepy guy doesn't do anything to your kids. That's the first thing. You know, the second thing, we all remember the story of the woman. I believe she was in Arizona or wherever she was. The black woman who left her kids inside the car, her daughter or kid, whatever it was, to go on a job interview. And when she got found out, she got put in jail, and she had all of these problems that, you know, came up that was subsequent to that. And you had a lot of people that came to her defense, and there was even a defense fund that came out for her. And I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying that, you know, I support a defense fund for somebody that leaves their kids in their car. But just for a minute, Stephen, just think about the desperation that you must have if you leave your kids in the car.
Exactly. I feel the desperation, being a man who's going through a lot of situations in life and knowing a lot of women friends that's going through even now. You could feel the desperation. It reeks, it stinks, and you're trying to do all that you can. And despite what society or people may think, not everybody has access to all the resources in the world. And sometimes you don't want every single person. You mentioned this before. You don't want every single person in your business.
Right. And
then when that happens, then they want to ask you all these questions when you're actually trying to do the wrong thing. And you see sometimes agencies and people give the people that's trying to do the right thing more scrutiny than the people that are just running whatever.
Yeah, it's just a sad situation because, you know, 22 months old, man, this kid wasn't even 2 years old, and now he's gone. And, you know, just think about the fear that he must have been going through, and think about how scared he must have been. You know, we talk about people not wanting to be alone in their final days and things of that sort. We're talking about grown people. You know, just imagine, you know, a child. I mean, how many times have you seen a child, you know, and their parent is 2, 3, 4 steps away, and the kid is kind of bugging out, like, come here, don't leave me. I know you 5 steps away and I can see you, but I'm tripping that I'm not able to get to you. Imagine being in that hot ass car all by yourself, you know, all day, and who knows when the child expired. It's just real scary, and it's real sad to me to think about what the kid must have gone through, being hot, being confused, and being alone. That's just sad to me. And it's one of those things, if you Googling that stuff, parents, you know the deal, you know, and any sympathy that I may have for your situation disappears. And the other thing, I'm gonna let you get your comment, Stephen, but did anybody hear this kid crying? I mean, not that it's anybody else's responsibility, it's the parents' responsibility, but I gotta think that this kid was in that car screaming.
Probably when you're gasping for air and that amount of heat, yes, you would think, because at that point you're screaming. There's a difference between, and you don't even have to be a parent, there's a difference between you're screaming because you're mad, you're getting beat, and you're screaming like you got your arm cut off or something dangerous is happening.
Right.
That's a scream that I'm thinking the baby would give. But then again, there's only so loud in these newer cars that block out all the road noise and everything else.
Right. You never know.
But the one question that I have in all of this is, they brought it up a few days back, and I've been trying to get their information on the number of this situation has risen with the child seat having to be turned a certain way.
Right.
So, and I'm wondering how has that played a role in all of this, because they said it's done astronomically tripled 3 times as much.
I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that, you know, how the seat is mounted in the car is relevant to a kid being left in it.
Because you're facing this way.
Right.
So there's less, potentially, in the way the back seats are with these cars, you're potentially facing less air.
Okay.
And then if you're a baby, you're trying to get out, whatever, you're wrestling, you're facing this. I'm sorry, you're facing the bag or whatever, blanket, whatever in front of you versus the whole front of the car.
Right. Well, I guess I get it. I still don't see the relevance, because if you're a kid and you left alone in the car, and, you know, one facing the front or the back, you know, you shouldn't be left alone in the car. So how much air that you might have shouldn't even play into it.
That is true.
You know, so ain't no #1 Marcus J. Keeping with the dumbass parents. I'm getting this one from news1.com. This is about a ex-college football star that kept his kid locked in the basement for 2 years. 2 years. You want to know why? Because he stole a family's DVD. It's an ultra-religious former Georgia Tech football star, Ricardo Wimbush, and his wife, Darian Cornelia. They've been arrested. They're facing malicious and intentional cruelty to children and false imprisonment charges after police discovered they allegedly had been keeping their 13-year-old son confined to a room in their basement for most of the past 2 years. The parents contend the child sinned when he stole the family's DVD player, then lied about it, and the extreme punishment was a disciplinary move. They're citing the Atlanta Journal-Constitution as their source. Now, Wimbush and Therian are known to be strict disciplinarians and admitted devotees of an unusual religion which worships Yah, are the parents of 10 children. The family lives in a large home in Beaufort, Georgia, which is located right outside of Atlanta. The child in question, whose name is being withheld, obviously you can see why, reportedly had no access to books, toys, entertainment devices of any kind, or access to his other siblings. The boy's dark room reportedly consisted of a bare box spring mattress, a large plastic jar where he would relieve himself. And while police detectives did determine that the child was fed at regular intervals and his living area was kept clean, they have surmised that the boy was not homeschooled during this time that he has been confined. When the Winbushes reportedly stood before a judge on June 19th for a preliminary hearing, the parents stated that the victim was a threat to his other siblings. The sources, however, refute what the parents stated in court and allege that the child was being severely punished for taking the family's DVD player. I a lot of times, Stephen, when I read these stories, I read, there's more, and then I'll say something like, I don't even need to read this mess no more. There's more, and so I'll just go ahead and say it, Stephen. I don't need to read no more of this mess. What the hell, man?
It makes me mad because, as you know, and anybody that knows me, I'm a little bit strict on discipline. But this is just way out of bad. To me, this is just as bad as burning a kid or whatever, because this is the scars go away, but the mental and emotional scarring from this situation is very bad and traumatic. And to put a child through all of this is just intentional. They should be thrown in just underneath the jail. It's just as bad as raping a child to me.
Man, Michelle Case checking in says it doesn't make sense. People should not have children.
But and this situation is happening often. There was a kid, who's 17 years old in Kansas City, that was handcuffed in the basement for a while. A whole bunch of other different people. I'll put it out there. My grandfather hung my cousin upside down on a tree and hit him with the back of the broom because he started cussing at him. Left him up there for a good few minutes and cut him down.
Yeah, that's a little bit extreme. I got to tell you, that's a little bit extreme. But I mean.
But like that. But
2 years.
No,
Steven?
2 years. No, I would have if I was going to lock you in the basement, it's like, okay, overnight or something like that. I'll make you sleep. I'm thinking of the episode on Cosby Show. I would have did something like that.
Yeah, I mean, how about I'm not that guy that says don't spank a kid, because I'll knock a kid cold blood out. I'll knock a kid out. No, I'm just kidding.
Why not?
I'm for fair amounts of corporal punishment. When Marcus J was growing up and stepped out of line, there were a couple of times that Pops J had to lay hands on me. Not a lot, but there was a couple of times. And so, I don't have any problem with it. I don't subscribe to the timeout, thing. I mean, there's a time for timeout and there's a time to knock a kid out. But you don't lock a kid in the basement for 2 years.
There's timeout after I'd have knocked you out.
The last DVD that I bought was probably the new Superman that came out last summer, and it cost me it was on Blu-ray, so it probably cost me like maybe $25, $30, let's say $30. Is the theft of 30? It was a DVD. It wasn't a DVD player like this kid, but I'm just thinking a DVD. $30 DVD player these days probably costs you like $50. So is $50 really worth 2 years in solitary confinement? Like, seriously?
No, it's not worth 2 years. I think it's worth, maybe you're not getting any privileges for a couple of months. It's worth a couple of beatings. It's worth me taking you some counseling.
I don't think that it's worth what you just said. I mean, yeah, I mean, you got to punish a kid, but I mean, you got to punish a kid commensurate with what the crime is.
I'm thinking systematically, like, I'm going to okay, too many kids will sit there and you do something. Okay, they take their head beatings, whatever is done that day, they move on. The beatings don't work.
Well, don't even say the word beating, because I'll joke and say I'll knock a kid out, but let's change the word and say spanking or something like that.
Anybody with logic sense knows we're talking about spanking.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That's true.
But the issue is, okay, after your spanking, then, they go on. I want to remind you of every single day as for the next couple of months what you do wrong, because how many times the kids complain, okay, they hear it, oh gosh, I gotta hear it again, it stays in their head so they won't ever do it again. Same thing though, like, you want to smoke, I'm good, you're going to smoke the whole pack at once,
right?
That type of deal. What was the worst beating or thing that you did to get
I stole something.
What you steal?
I stole something. I'll just leave it at that. But I stole something. So, I know what I stole something beating is like. There was that one time, and then there was another time that, me and my best friend, who's no longer with us, Stephanie Glover, we got caught, lighting matches, and, there was a bush that was an evergreen that we was going to figure out, how we was going to light that sucker on fire. It was one of those bushes that said it won't light up. So we wanted to see if it would. So we was playing with matches around that tree, and I got a beating for that too. So, but that was it. And I had the kind of household where you got your beating, and then after that, you got your hug. That's how it worked in my house, and that's how it works in the house where I'm raising my child. Like, you don't need to let the child see, in that moment, anger. You got to understand, okay, I'm knocking you out right now, but I'm knocking you out because I love you.
Do you believe in like taking time after the situation to calm down? Do you be beating because you see so many people beating their kid while they're so angry?
I mean, it depends on the person. I mean, I'm not one of those people who, I don't carry anger. I brood sometimes. I'm a little bit grumpy, but I don't carry anger. So if there was a situation where I needed to handle something, I would probably handle it on the spot. That's just me. There's other people that I know that probably need to take that time out before they deal with the child. So it really does depend. But if we're talking about a spanking, we talking about a spanking. If we're talking about a timeout, then we're talking about a timeout. The parent reserves the right to determine the punishment for the child within reason. And $100 theft, we'll round up and say this DVD player cost $100. $100 theft is not worth 2 years in solitary confinement for a 13-year-old who has to pee in a freaking mason jar.
No, that's just cruelty and torture.
This kid's gonna be in freaking therapy for the rest of his life, forever. You got 9 other siblings that you've been kept away from. And those 9 siblings have to know, where's little Marcus or where's little Steven? Where's he been for the last 2 years? I'm 13, and my little brother is 11 and he's gone, and I don't see him again until he's 13. Like, think about that for a second. That's cruelty to the other kids.
Yeah.
Because all of them is psychologically affected.
Now, also I want to know, and we don't know specifically, but okay, if the child, was he stealing for money? Because there's 10 kids involved. Was the child stealing for, and I'm not justifying, but was the child stealing because to get attention? Was the child stealing for money or what have you? And that leads me to think, okay, yes, he may be a former college football star, but if you got 10 kids, unless you're banging really good money, bringing it in, there's not a lot of jobs out there outside of higher life entertainment,
right,
that's going to let you support 10 kids.
Right.
So they subscribe to this religion. I'm not fully aware of all the discipline.
It says Yah in the article. I don't know what Yah is.
I know that is a very strict religion towards
is it based in Islam or Christianity?
Part of it is based in Islam. I don't remember all the particulars, but I know a lot of it is deals with frugal and meagerness, I believe. But outside of that, I'm not familiar with the rest of it. But I'm just thinking, now the child could just be trying to do it for fun. We don't know right now. The child probably forgot, given all the dang torture he's going through.
Right.
So I just pray that y'all get
Well,
better.
I just try to Google Yah. I mean, I know what Yahweh, is another name for God, and so I thought that it might have some sort of connection to that. And when I Googled Yah, it basically doesn't say anything specific about where it comes from or what religion that it may be a denomination of. It just alludes back to the name, Yahweh being another, name for God. So it doesn't specifically say where it comes from. And I don't know that it matters. If you believe in deity, you believe in deity. But, I have a problem with any deity belief system that would subscribe to this level of extreme punishment for something that is a minor offense that, I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty sure a lot of kids run into a bout with sticky fingers at some point or another on varying levels. I won't say most, I won't say all, I'll just say some. And, a lot of those kids turn out to be pretty decent humans. Like I said, I got one of my greatest spankings of my life because I stole something from Aunt Marie's house. You know what I'm saying?
Was it expensive?
I mean, I was a kid, so I can't. I mean, I think it was like a necklace or something. I don't know how expensive it was, but I don't know that matters. But it's a good question. But
I'm just because I'm asking for the sake of the level of punishment that you may have received.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, depending on how old the child is, I think I'm going to spank them more, or let me take that back. I think I'm going to punish them more for the act and less about the value. You know what I'm saying? Because as a child, you may not know that you just jacked your mama for a $2 million necklace that she got laying around versus something that she got out of the Cracker Jack box. You don't know the difference as a kid.
No, because that was why I was asking that, because some parents base their punishment on the value, some parents base it on the issue. You and I are basing it on the issue,
right,
regardless. How would you punish a kid? This kid was 13, so a little 13. Bit. So we would think the age of understanding.
I would say the age of understanding is probably around 8 or 9 years old.
Okay. How would you punish a kid, let's say, between 5 to 9, 9 to 13, and then...
You still got to get that ass whooping.
Okay.
You still going to take that ass. For me, you're going to still get that ass whooping.
So your 17, 18-year-old boy or girl, what would you do?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about a kid that old, first of all, let me get Michelle K's comment in here. She says she disciplines her godchildren. She'll spank them as a last resort, but she tries to talk to them first. I definitely like that. I use that. I haven't, felt the need to spank, my child in longer than I can even tell you. So, but an older child is a little bit different than a younger child because you have more physical control over a younger child's
level of intimidation,
level of intimidation, that sort of thing. But an older child, you can affect them by taking away the things that they want or the things that they in their mind need. For example, I remember when I was probably about 17 or so, and I had a situation where I needed to be punished. I won't get into what happened, but I'll just say I needed to be punished. And the way Mom's J went about it was she grounded me. And she grounded me at a time that was pivotal because she knew and I knew that I had something that I wanted to do that was coming up in the next couple of days. And so how she punished me, and I deserved it, as a grown person now, I know that I did. At the time, I was furious for her for doing this, but I wasn't allowed to go where I wanted to go and do what I wanted to do. And that had the kind of effect on me that it needed to, because it was something that never happened again for me. You know what I mean? So that's how you deal with older children. You take away what they want. If they got a car, take them keys.
You know what I would have, and I know this is, what's your thought on this? I would have gone to their school and whipped my child.
I mean, I'm just not. I don't.
Or find a way to.
I'm not into embarrassing my kid. I'm not doing that. So, a public display of embarrassment to show my child that I'm the boss tells me that I've already lost the kid.
But I'm not doing it as a level of boss. But like, how many times we hear, "Don't make me leave my job to go take care of business at your school."
Well,
because you're going to get it.
Yeah.
When that was happening, you did not see that much trouble nowhere near. Not saying kids, because plenty of kids got in a lot of trouble back then.
Yeah,
but nowhere near to the level that we got now.
Well, I honestly think that, to be completely frank, I think a lot of kids are, a lot of parents are afraid of their kids. A lot of parents want to be friends with their kids. I tell Mama J all the time, "You're like my best friend," but she knows who I am. She knows that I'm her dad and she's my child. And when it goes down, she knows that there's a line. And when I say that to her, I mean it when I say it to her. But I also feel like that, I have the kind of authority that she respects, that I can get away with it. It's parents walking around who want to be their child's friend so bad that they will allow their child to take certain liberties that will cause them stress in the future and problems in the future. And that's not something that I have to worry about. That's my situation. And I'm fortunate. I realize that I'm fortunate because I've got a good child. And I'll also take credit because I'm raising a good child. So there's some luck there. But there's also some skill with the way she's being raised. But at the end of the day, parents ain't raising their children the way they should. There is absolutely no way that, Big Brother Jay and Marcus J would have walked out of my father's house with our pants off our asses. There's no way. Mm-mm. There's no way. I was raised in a house where I couldn't get a part in my hair. If I got a part, the wrong kind of part, it was going back. And remember, now I'm 40, so in the 80s, it was in style, to get like zigzags and all kinds of different shit in your hair. It wasn't going down in my house. You know why? Because my father exuded the kind of authority that let you know certain things you just know. And if you don't know, you're going to learn.
Or you get your own place to live.
Well, when you're 15, that's kind of difficult. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Let me get to this next story, Mr. LP. Now, this one, when everybody hears it, they won't laugh. I don't think this shit's funny. I'm going to tell you, I don't think this shit's funny at all. WRIC is the local ABC affiliate here in Richmond, Virginia. A 4-year-old girl has helped solve a crime after her babysitter staged a burglary at the home. The babysitter reported that 2 black men armed with a gun and knife barged into the Ferndale, Washington house where she was watching 3 children last week on Wednesday. The teen told police that the men forced her to take the children and leave. The teen led the police to a neighbor who fit the description of the suspects, and he was taken into custody. But her alleged ruse unraveled when one of the children told police that the burglars were white and not black. Quote, she described the suspects as having peach-colored skin as opposed to having dark-colored skin. This is what Sheriff Bill Elfo told ABC News. The babysitter eventually admitted to police she was involved in the theft. She concocted the story after letting 2 men, including her 16-year-old boyfriend, into the house to steal $1,500 worth of the family's belongings, which included laptops, games, system components, a piggy bank, and other things, according to the police report. The babysitter and her boyfriend's name have not been released because they're under 18. I think they should for pure stupidity reasons, but that's just my opinion. The third accomplice, Reuben J. Benjamin, is 18. All 3 were arrested and faced theft and robbery charges. It caused us to use large scale of our resources. We had our SWAT team on the scene. That's a quote from the sheriff. The neighbor who had been taken into custody was released once police determined the woman's story was false. That's the end of it, Mr. LP. You know I got some stuff to say about this one, but I want you to go first because you're the guest here live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio as you sit with me on the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio, Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J, which is sponsored by the Doctor of Optometry, Dr. Euphemia Huggins Williams, ODPC, live action captions, as well as Free Spirit Enterprises. Mr. LP, little 4-year-old girl said, them people wasn't black. Them was some white folk that robbed this house. What you say about that, man?
One, yes, the initial thing is like, okay, maybe people want to laugh, but the first thing that was going to bother me is that given the fact that no matter what race you could be, you could look like any color. So when you start doing things like this, you're opening up the floodgates of a whole bunch of different things, whereas it could have been somebody black. But because there may be skin color, what have you, it just opens up a can of worms that we don't need to go there. 2, I'm glad they caught. 3, those kids should not only work to pay back all the money that they were charged that day, for public resources and everything else. I would sit and make them sit in front of TV before they go step in school and apologize to everybody. And I would sue those kids something because we don't know. Granted, the neighbor that got arrested may be fine. But once you ring that bell, regardless of the situation, it's hard to unring it back.
Yes.
And so we don't know if he lost his job. He could have had a business and maybe not got a deal. Not only him, his wife and or children, whatever family or personal situation, all that's affected because of this foolishness.
Yeah.
And so all of that, I hope he gets a record of everything and takes that to the parents and the child. And if I was the parents, I'd need to sit down and really, before I even lay my hands on that child, I need to look in that mirror and question myself, what did I do wrong?
Here's the thing, Mr. LP. I look at it like this. I mean, we live in a climate where a white girl could say black people did it, and the police will just go ahead and believe them. There was no proof. There was no fingerprints. There was no surveillance. It was just this 16-year-old white girl saying that the two black guys over there did it. And so they go over there, they call out the SWAT team, and they do all of that to get this boy or this man or whatever this was, and it wasn't even him. He didn't even do anything, and it ended up being, her and her friends. And I just think that it's really scary and sad that we live in a time, we've always lived in this time. It's no different now than what it was forever ago, that you can say the black guy did it and they will believe you without no proof. You don't need no proof. You don't need nothing. All you got to do is say the black guy did. What about Susan Smith down there in South Carolina, wherever it was, a few years ago, where she took her kids and ran them into the freaking lake and said that she got carjacked by a black dude? I mean, it just really, really incites me, because all we got to do is make that statement and people gonna run with it. Now, we're gonna talk a little bit later on in the show about racial profiling. There's a story that I want to share with our listeners about racial profiling that will blow your mind. Your boy Marcus J was in fact affected by some racial profiling since our last show that I will share later on in the show. So, I'm feeling extra passionate about this one. So, that's the reason why I feel this way. And I have Steppin with Marcus J. Now, what I want to do is get the opinion right now of my co-host who just walked in the door, my sister, who I haven't seen in a week. So now I'm grinning because she look all good and stuff. She must be going to see William. But my sister, S.Y. Butler. What's up, girl?
Hello, darling.
How you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, we see y'all should see it too. She look all cute and stuff. So, I know you're walking in kind of on the back end of the story, but the short version is this girl says the black guys robbed the house, and come to find out, as she's babysitting, and the 4-year-old says, nah, the black guys didn't do this. There was some white folk that did this. The 4-year-old. But because the white girl said it, the police call out the SWAT team and pull the neighbor out the house, and he ain't even guilty. And Mr. LP made the statement that this could really have affected this dude.
And why wouldn't it? Because the first thing you say is, oh well, it's a black guy, and the first thing you do is you go and attack her neighbor. Did she describe her neighbor?
To a T. That's why they was over there.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to be next to her. I mean, this is his home, though, right. Because now any little thing that happens, he's going to be under the radar. Right. They're going to look at him for everything. They're going to look at him funny because she said, yep. Even though he knows he didn't do it.
Yep.
How does that make you feel? Of course, he's going to feel some kind of way about it. I would, too.
Yeah. It's just the climate, to me, that we still live in, when we have to remind our white brothers and sisters, and hopefully we have some listening tonight, and I don't want y'all feeling some kind of way when we talk about white and black issues, because one thing that I don't do on this show is front. You know, I don't do punk, and I don't do.
There's no half stepping.
Ain't no half
baby.
stepping on here. I don't do no punk and passive aggression. And the truth of the matter is, there's some shit y'all just don't get.
They will never understand.
You just don't get it. You don't understand. You don't understand what it's like to get followed in the store because of your skin color. You might get followed in the store because you got on a black trench coat in June.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
You know what I mean? But you're not gonna get followed just because.
Yeah,
you know?
the everyday struggle that we deal with just for being black.
And you're a woman.
Deal with it.
And you're a woman.
You know, so
and you got the double win.
You know, I always say I wish I had a son, but for this reason, you know, I'm think reasons like this, I'm glad I don't have a son because God knows what he didn't do that he would be accused of doing.
Well, how many of them have to have the talk? You know, I remember having the talk with Pops J. I remember having to have the talk. You know, it's like, don't talk back. You know, look them in the eye. Be firm. You know, use short answers. You know, all that kind of stuff. Be respectful. It's like, come on, man. Like,
and could I even give that story right? You know, if I was a single parent with a son, could I even give that story right? Could I even tell him that good enough to make him understand? I'd be like, oh, brother dear, oh, Marcus dear, or oh, Stephen dear, somebody, you know, to help him understand how serious this is. You know, regardless of our teaching, sometimes you can't help how a child will stray. So, you know, imagine.
Well, when I tell the story later on in the show about my personal experience with racial profiling, you just got to stay with us. It'll be later on in the show, 804-402-2893. If you want to get down with the show tonight and call us up. When I tell y'all the story, it's going to piss you off because I'm still mad about it now. And it's been, you know, a while. Mr. LP, you want to jump in here?
Yes, I've been in too many racial profiler stories to get to tell you. But the one thing, I get mad because I have a friend now, has an 11-year-old boy. And I get angry when the father's not around much, and I get angry when she just lets him get away with certain things because he's just a boy. She's carrying stuff and doing a whole bunch of different things, and I'm always encouraging him, don't let him not respect you. Don't let him sit there running around yelling rap songs in the store and all these other things calling attention. One thing I was always taught, don't bring unnecessary attention to yourself when you're out conducting business.
And I agree with that. That ain't even a color thing. That's just, I mean, even personally, I mean, I wear black and gray and brown every day and blue. That's just how I roll. I'm just a low-key type of fella, but, you know, it is what it is. Ain't no hashtag on Marcus J. Did y'all see Nancy Grace last week when she had the father on the show? This is a father of a missing child, Charlie Bothell. Charlie Bothell the fifth, which is already weird that he's the fifth, but Charlie Bothell the fifth is missing. He had been missing, and so you know how I feel about that kind of stuff. 12 years old. He'd been missing 11 days. I'm getting this from independent.co.uk, but it's all over the AP. Charlie Bothell the fourth, his dad, was on a live showing of Nancy Grace, which is on the HLN, I believe, network. And she is the one that told Dad, hey, look, man, your kid got found. Sounds good, right? His child was found. It's good, right? Want to know where the child was found? In the basement of his house. Yeah. Young Charlie the fourth was found in the house. Apparently, they had already searched the house. The police had already searched the house. The family had already searched the house. Federal Bureau of Investigation had already searched the house. And I guess it didn't matter because they didn't search it that well. I want to go ahead and play a little bit of a clip. And of course, you hear Nancy Grace telling him, your son has been found in your basement. But then you hear blank.
Just crickets.
Crickets, yeah. And if you see the video, you can see that he literally had this look on his face like, stop playing for real. And I'm not sure if that was just him being shocked or if there's any foul play here. I don't know. But the kid was found barricaded in, like, kids build little forts and stuff where they hide and stuff.
How old is the baby?
12 years old. 12 years old.
Nice.
So I'm showing the crew right now the video. I tried to play a little bit of the audio. It didn't come up the way I wanted it to, but I think you heard a little bit of Nancy saying it to him, and you can see his body language. You can see the look on his face where he does look nervous and stuff. But to me, that shit look fake. That's just me.
I'm telling you right now, that's some BS going on right there.
That looks fake to me. That looks fake.
That daddy and baby boy, they got something going on. That can't be real.
But the thing is,
it can't be real.
But the thing is, the authorities had already checked the house. The authorities checked the house. Mr. LP, what you think, man?
It wasn't checked properly. It wasn't checked all the different doors. You didn't bring the thermal imaging equipment to go around the house like you do when there's a fire. So they didn't bother. They just looked around, didn't see anything, just kept on going. And the fact that they were put on this roof reminds me of the kid that flew away out in Ohio or something like that. It just, when will people stop just to do whatever to catch attention? And Nancy Grace, for all that she's done, and things, some good, some bad, she knows what she's doing. And she broke
the story.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure that I can blame her. She did. She broke the story.
And like,
and as a journalist, you want to break the story.
Exactly. But at the same time, of all places, you want to go on Nancy Grace, who got one of the loudest mouths out there. Really?
He thought he had a good plan.
Well, I'm not going to judge him on going on Nancy Grace. I mean, Nancy Grace got loud mouth. She's annoying as hell, but people watch her.
Nancy
we know
Grace
who she
knows
is.
what she's talking about.
I mean, I don't even know that I would say that. I would say that. I mean, if she does, she does. I don't watch her show, so I don't know. But I've heard of her, and I know people go on there when they want to get seen. And if I got a missing child, I want to get seen.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the first places she.
That's some place that I would want to go. Yeah,
she dishes it out herself, except for when it comes to her dancing. But other than that, she dishes it out.
I just think that it's weird. I'm not saying that this guy's in on it. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying was his reaction looked a little phony to me. It just, because here's the first thing, right? Like, the first thing that struck me, that's why when I saw his reaction, was, I don't care that I'm on Nancy Grace. I'm out of here. That's the first thing I would have done. My son has been found. Yeah, I'm out of here.
He's sitting there like,
yeah, I think I would have got out of the chair, and I would have been going to the cell phone or something to try to confirm that. And she's like trying to talk to her assistant and trying to get her assistant to get the information to her and all that. He's sitting there
she's
talking to him.
He don't know.
He's too calm, and he's also too relaxed as well.
That's exactly what my point was. And again, I'm not suggesting that he's in on it. I'm just saying y'all can suggest. I'm just saying that his reaction just looked a little strange.
Come on.
Well, yeah, ain't no how Steppin Marcus yet. Now, we did that segment. That's why I teased it by saying that we was doing dumbass parents. And so, we talked about the toddler who died in the hot car because dad left the kid in the car while he went to work. We talked about the parents that locked their kid in the basement for 2 years because they stole a DVD player. We talked about the 4-year-old who foils the babysitter and said it wasn't no black guys, it was the white guy. And we talked about the dad who lost his kid in his own house. Okay?
He must live in a mansion.
Yeah, he must live in a mansion. Exactly. We talked about those dumbass parents. But now I want to talk about a sad parent. It's not a dumb parent. This is a parent, Texas father, who overpaid on child support, who's going to prison now. Now, you say, how does that happen? It's in Texas. I'm getting this from news1.com. He obviously exhausted the appeals process. We talked about this a few months ago. So Houston dad is going to jail after the child support dispute. He's 43-year-old Clifford Hall. He doesn't owe any back child support. He's been paid in full for months after his employer acknowledged a clerical error that prevented his payments from being sent to the child's mother. When Hall discovered it, he paid the amount due plus an additional $1,000, according to his attorney. And so now he appears to, because it was late, he's dealing with the punitive value of him actually having to go to jail. Under a new Texas law, family court judges have the discretion to jail delinquent child support payers even if they've been paid in full. He has been sentenced to 6 months in jail by Judge Lisa Miller. His attorneys appealed the new law, but they lost. He plans to turn himself into jail tomorrow. He was fighting for custody of his 12-year-old son. Does not want the child to visit him in jail, of course, obviously. Yeah. His attorneys want the case to serve as a warning to any parent that can face this sort of judgment, and hopeful that this judge will change her mind and the legislators will change the Texas law. I'm gonna go last on this one. That's why I want you to go first on this one. You've got.
I'm gonna be nice.
You're. I don't think that I'm breaking any news by saying that you're a single mom. Mm-hmm. And this is a situation where you are someone who knows. You're not getting your money. You're not getting your money. Mm-hmm. So you investigate. You like, why am I not getting my money? And so you contact him and you like, where my money at? And so he's like, well, shoot, I've been paying. It's been coming out my check. Yo, what's the deal? And so he goes and he finds out that his job made a mistake. Mm-hmm. That's why you ain't get your money. You didn't get your money, but now you got an extra $1,000, or the court got an extra $1,000, and you are now caught up. Mm-hmm. But now the government ain't happy with him, and they sending him to jail. This is where we are right now, based under this new Texas law. So your thoughts on this story is what?
The judge is a piece of work because it's not his fault. The money has been coming out of his check, and it's up to the employer to send that money to X location and X location to give it to the mother. He has done his part by having that money come out of his check. Obviously, I guess they're taking it. But if they're not forwarding it, why is he being penalized? He should not be penalized. I think the judge is whack for doing that.
Well, look at it like this. We have this thing where, we live in a prison industrial complex where we jail more people in our country than they do around the world. And we also know that the private prisons fill up and they make money because we also know the Constitution says that, we talked about this. Mm-hmm. If you're in prison, you get to be good old slave again. And so he's going to prison now, and they can do it under this new law. And now, I don't know if this makes him a felon, or if this makes him is this a misdemeanor? I guess I could look up the law and figure that out. But the truth of the matter is, instead of being at work making money to continue paying this woman her child support, he's in prison.
So what's going to happen now?
Well, obviously, yeah. But he's in prison making money for the prisons. See how that works? Mm-hmm. See how that works, Mr. LP? Jump in here, man.
It's a situation where it's very sad. I have not been able to find whether or not it's going to be a felony or not. But the situation is this. One, and they're probably not, but a congressman in that state, a congressman or a senator can go and get that person out of jail. I hope that somebody there would wake up and do this. Two, he's an African-American man who's done what he's supposed to, and they just want to throw the person in jail. Everybody says go to Texas and things like that. That's personally, for me, one state I don't want to go to and live because it's just too wrong.
Yeah. It's just the stereotype, like you said, it's a black dude. And yes, in this case it is. But it's not even, for me, a lot of stuff is about color. And if I really, really wanted to play that game, I could make this about color. But
it's aggressively over because of that. Because we've seen this happen for white people.
Yeah, absolutely.
For all cultures.
Absolutely.
But it's just extreme that no matter what, he did what he was supposed to the letter of the law.
He did nothing wrong.
And you still going to punish him. If you want to punish somebody, find the people that did this. Mm-hmm. They should be put in jail.
But it's not even about what they did, though, Stephen, and that's why it was a mistake. It's a clerical error that caused this woman to not get her money, and $1,000 he paid extra that he's caught up on.
So why is the mother not fighting?
That's a good question, and that's a good question.
Who's to say that she's not?
Right, the story doesn't allude to whether she does or she's not.
She's not.
How do you know that she's not?
Well, I've looked up into this story for a while now since I first heard about it. She's just like, I got my money, okay, whatever, and she's not making.
But she didn't got my money because the kid's 12. She still got 6 years that she's still owed money less 6 months that she ain't gonna get.
Because now she's not gonna have money again. I don't believe that she's just
I don't buy it either.
back,
I mean, I guess if we look hard enough, we can look into it.
But like now, he's got to get his. Hopefully, he don't lose his job.
What makes you think that he won't?
I know.
He's probably already lost it.
No, I know that. I'm not denying that. 99, but I'm just trying to hold out on hope and pray that this guy don't lose a job, so he can get. And then now he's potentially going to get in trouble because he's going to be late again, and then can't make up his child payment.
He's going to be 6 months late.
He's lost his job the moment they were like, "You are under arrest."
And
he
lost
his job.
I'm sure. Yeah, and now he's 6 months behind. He's going to be at least 6 months behind.
Now he's in the system.
At minimum 6 months behind.
And now he's in the system.
And the thing is, like, you know, if you need any more proof that you are worth more to them, and I say them because I'm speaking of the system, if you need any more proof that you mean more to them in prison than you do on the street, this is a case study for that, because this is a man who did nothing wrong. We've got a confirmed clerical error that caused the problem. He paid up in full, and he paid a fine. The only reason why you put him in prison is to punitively punish him and to have him in prison where he can make you money instead of being out there where he can take care of his family. What is the benefit? Like, how does anybody win? Like, who wins here? The child doesn't win. He doesn't have his father. The child's mother doesn't win. She ain't got her child support. He doesn't win because he's in prison. You just blew up this family over a clerical error.
And that's going to take away from him. You said he was trying to get custody of his son?
He would been trying to get custody of his kid.
It's not going to happen.
Now I don't know if he's a felon or not. I don't know if this is a felony, but he's an ex-con. When he comes home, he's definitely going to be that. It's just, man, you know, when these people,
you know, over and over again, is one thing or another just kind of piss you off. And we are in a never-ending cycle of it.
It's not even a conspiracy, y'all. It's a plan.
It's just the way it is.
It's a plan. You know, I'll cite my sources. I stole that line from the #1 truth fighter, Warren Ballantyne, where he always says it's not a conspiracy, it's a plan. And it's true. This is a case study for how it's a plan that they will make more money with you being in jail as a slave than they would on the street, with you being on the street and contributing to the economy. And that just, to me, that's so crazy and so disheartening that I don't even know what else to say about that. So I won't say nothing. No half stepping. With Marcus J, we're going to take our first break of the night. And when we come back, my sister SY is taking over the floor. SY, you want to tease us?
Oh, it's more about the babies, y'all.
It's about the babies. Marcus J, Mr. LP, and my co-host, S.Y. Butler. You know how to step on Marcus J. We shall be back in a few minutes.